Greetings, hello, and welcome everyone to AOM Retold. This is a guide video for the Egyptians in Age of Mythology Retold. If you're new to Age of Mythology and want to learn how to play as the Egyptians, this is going to be a guide video to get you started if you're a brand new player. That being said, even though this is made for new players, this might be helpful for everyone. And then there is a playlist for all of the guide videos that we've made for Age of Mythology Retold, so be sure to check all that out. So let's dive right in. The Egyptians play a little bit similar to Greeks in the ways that Egyptians gather resources. So what I mean is the Egyptians have your mining camps, your lumber camps, your granaries. These are all your drop-off buildings. For Greeks, these are combined, your mining camps and lumber camps, but they do share a granary. You'll notice that for Egyptians, a lot of the drop-off buildings are really cheap or they're completely free. You can see the mining camp, lumber camp, and granary is free of no cost to you. So, that being said, kind of going to the basics of making sure that your villagers are most efficient as they can. You want them to be close to drop-off buildings and being the most efficient as possible. Technically, your villagers will be more efficient getting food from livestock first than berries, but if you want them to get berries, make sure you're building your drop-off points for really any resource. Make sure they're close to the drop-off points. Now, for Egyptians, they get a couple of hero units right off the bat. You get a pharaoh and a priest, and they have a little bit of different uses. The pharaoh is, we kind of imagine the pharaoh a little bit similar maybe to a prelate in Age of Empires 4 if you've played from that game. You will get, it's uniquely named. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the gentleman's name at the bottom left, but they can empower buildings. And you can see the icon kind of changes. If you press A, you'll see these sunlight rays kind of shine down. And what that does a few things. It increases, if you do it to a town center, it tells you this in the, I think the Learn tab of the game. If you do it on a town center, it'll increase the amount of arrows that it'll fire upon enemy units. It increases the training time of villagers, and it also increases the efficiency of how quickly buildings are built. So if like you're going to empower a building under construction, it'll be built faster. And then I think you actually even drop off more resources as well. So it's really efficient for your pharaoh to be empowering something. So that's 0.72. I want to see if it changes since it's empowered, or it might just flat out just drop off more resources. I'm not actually quite sure how mathematically it ends up working out for the efficiency. Now, maybe it goes above 15. I'm not sure. Maybe it just collects it faster. I don't know. But nonetheless, you can empower that. A few of, I think it's, is it Ra, where priests can also empower? I'm playing as Isis, and you cannot. The other unit you get is the priest. The priest is your hero unit. It can pick up relics, as can your pharaoh. I think it's better for your priest to pick up the relics. However, you're going to want to make sure that you get, actually, it's required. You need an upgrade from your temple to pick up relics as the priest. But what the priest can do is build what's called an obelisk. You press Y on a priest, and you can build these obelisks. What these are little buildings that cost very little gold. They don't have a whole lot of hit points. You can see it only has 50 hit points. They build pretty quickly. This just gives you a lot of line of sight. I do recommend putting these around the map because you get permanent line of sight as long as that building is present. You can kind of see its radius as well when you go to build a new building and zoom out a little bit. And it's really helpful to get a head start on more of the map, where your opponents may be coming from. Maybe you want to get a look on some particular resources, those sorts of things. I would recommend going out and dropping some obelisks around the map as Egyptians. Next up for the Egyptians are the ways that they generate favor. It's actually pretty unique. They generate favor by building these monuments. With each age, you're going to get a new monument. It starts with monument to the villagers. Monuments generate favor. You must build the smaller ones before you can build the larger ones. You get this radius here. Now, it's kind of dependent on which major guide you pick for the pantheon of Egyptians. For Isis, by putting this here, this radius actually means that enemies cannot invoke god powers as long as that monument's there. And also as well, with the Pharaoh, I can empower this monument, not only get more favor, but it'll also heal in this radius. So I think that that's really cool if you want to make sure that you're healing your units, you're kind of avoiding enemy god powers. I know, like, there could be some really nasty ones that you can face in the late game, like the earthquake, the meteor shower, the lightning storm, just to name a few. This would stop it. What you also see a lot of times too is they'll drop these monuments offensively as well. So like if you're gonna push, maybe they build a proxy, which I can get into it in a more advanced video. That's where you're building buildings closer to your opponent to get reinforcements closer. But they might also drop a monument there too, so you can't use a god power to destroy or obliterate your units. Really smart. One thing you'll notice pretty quickly as you're playing as the Egyptians is there's going to be a lot of units, upgrades, even buildings are all going to require gold. For example, like most civs, you would expect actually using a farm would require wood, but as the Egyptians, it requires gold. A lot of the units, say, for example, the pharaohs, or I'm sorry, the priests, they require gold. Some of even upgrades require a whole lot of gold. Building these obelisks require just a little bit of gold, but it does require gold nonetheless. The point I'm trying to get at is gold is going to be your most important resource as any sort of Egyptian major god that you pick. So you want to make sure that you are being aggressive in securing gold mines for your civ. Otherwise, you're going to have yourself in a tough situation. Okay, so now we're in Age 2. Now we're able to kind of start getting our military going and learning some more about expanding as the Egyptians. You'll notice actually that our, are they sentry towers, I believe is what they're called? They've automatically upgraded into watchtowers. That's great because that means they're going to start firing upon enemy units when they come in range, as well as make it a little bit stronger with hit points, making it easier for you to garrison, or your units will have a better chance of surviving when they're garrisoned, meaning the building won't be destroyed as quickly. Let's get into some of the military buildings that we can build. Also, quick note, you'll see that your town center requires just gold compared to other civs where it's less gold, but it also contains wood needing to build a town center. Again, going into how important it is to build mining camps and securing gold as Egyptians. Over on military, you'll see that the armory is free, so we can go ahead and build an armory. And then barracks is 75 gold. Again, a gold to build another building. You'll notice that there is no counter barracks or archery range or stable. It's all going to be contained right here in the barracks. So we're going to go ahead and queue up maybe 2 or 3 of these. Now that we aged up, we also do have access to a new monument, the monument to the priest. We want to make sure that we're continuing to build that so our favor continues to increase. The more monuments, the more favor we're going to get, which is going to be important for our myth units and later upgrades. So let's look at the barracks. We have the Axeman, Spearman, and the Slinger. Again, they all consume gold. Difference for a couple of some need food. The Slingers need wood. So we have the medium Slingers. These are going to be kind of your archers. I really like these units a lot. You have your spearmen. And then you also have your axemen. Another ranged unit. One thing you'll notice is you don't see any cav options here for the Egyptians. Really, where the cav's going to come into play is going to be the chariot archers, which we will build out of the Stronghold when we get into Age 3. We're going to build actually the next monument, the monument to the pharaohs, and we're going to put that there to kind of block more leader powers. Let's queue up the next tech since I built an armory, and I like the ancestors upgrade, so we'll queue that up. You can also build, it's important to know, you can build mercenaries out of your town center. These are going to be quick infantry. They train, the description says they train quickly, but they're expensive. Yeah, they're 90 gold apiece, and they only last a short time. Good against cav. So if you need units very quickly, you can build mercenaries. I'm not sure if that's really the best option for you, given, again, on how expensive they are. One thing I do see as a strat is the way that Age Mythology works is myth units are weak against hero units. So what you often see is Egyptians, they'll go masked priests. They're 100 gold. They have a ranged attack that is strong against myth units. It heals allied units, and of course, it constructs obelisks. So you can build these priests out of your town center, out of your temple, and any additional town centers and temples that you end up constructing. So you can get a lot of priests on the field pretty quickly. And again, that is a great counter to the mass myth units that you see a lot of other civs do. So now that we're in Age 3, we can build the Stronghold. 400 gold, 10 favor. You can have a limit of 10 of those. Let's go ahead and construct that right in between two monuments so we can't get destroyed by leader powers there. We can also build a siege workshop as well for 75 gold. We're going to go ahead and construct that. Since for this example of this game, I have a lot of resources. The way to tech up to the next age is the Stronghold. So let's go ahead and queue up Age 4 where we can get the final upgrades and things that we want. I actually think that there are some really great options for both of these minor gods. I haven't really explained the minor gods on my pathing all the way up into here because I think it can kind of be your personal preference. But here on Age 4, there's both really good ones. So there's the Son of Osiris. That transforms your pharaoh into like this superhero. It's like a bird thing, and it has all these lightning strikes, and it's so good. And you also get the mummy as the myth unit, as well as you also get this one where the New Kingdom, where you can get a second pharaoh. There are also camel riders. You can increase their speed. Over here with Thoth, if you go the way of Thoth, you get the Phoenix, which I think is that's an air unit that attacks with fire, but the Meteor Strike is just unbelievable. And as well, there are some upgrades to the War Elephant with the Tusks upgrade here. So I don't really think there's really a wrong option to go here. I think for this example, I'm going to go Osiris because I want to show you the transformation of the Pharaoh. You also need to be careful when you're on control and you select all units for your military. You're going to include the Pharaoh here. Now, you can kind of fix this by maybe setting the Pharaoh to a control group. So you can kind of redirect him if he goes somewhere. So if you do all units, he will no longer be empowering of whatever you wanted him to empower. So just be mindful of that. Taking a look at the Stronghold, this is where you see a lot of the cav units from the Egyptians. So you have the War Elephant, which is just insane. It's really, really good. It's a tough unit. Slow and expensive unit that's good against buildings and anything that gets in its way. It's classified as cav. So if you're trying to counter this, maybe with spearmen or some of the counter cav units that the Atlanteans have, that's what you would counter this with. There's the camel riders. I think camel riders are pretty good. A fast, expensive unit that's good against ranged unit and other cav. I think really where Egypt shines is the chariot archers. And I think if I remember right, these just got nerfed because they're so good. I've done a castic game and also been completely wrecked by these units in online matchmaking before as well. What you ultimately end up seeing is like an opponent will make, there's a limit of 10 of these strongholds. They'll end up making, I don't know, like 6 of them. And if their economy is in a really good shape and they've been really going after the gold piles, they can just make so many chariot archers. It does consume more wood than gold, but the speed of the chariot archers is really something to be impressed by. Moving over to the siege workshop, there's the siege tower. This is, it says it's rolling tower. It can fire arrows and ram buildings. That's pretty good. I really think the best siege unit in the game, I've said this in other videos, is the catapult. It's just so good. Good against buildings and ships. You get that at Age 4. I would recommend you do it. It's really slow moving. There are some upgrades that you can get that increases the speed of those. And now I can make my Pharaoh the Son of Osiris. Where is the Pharaoh? There he is. So it only works on your Pharaoh. You see him kind of transform into this bird thing. He can still empower, but his attack is just insane. And I'll show you that here in a minute. In terms of leader powers, right off the bat, again, it depends on which major god you pick, but for the one I picked, you get this prosperity. Makes all your villagers and trade caravans gather gold faster. It's free, and you can put it just anywhere on the map. It activates for all of your villagers. You can see how quickly on the bottom left that gold mine amount is just decreasing. You can see they're carrying it, what was that, at 1.4? 1.46 gold per second. That's pretty great. I think the average is like half of that, maybe. I'm not actually sure what the exact number is. Lastly, the last cool unit that you can build as the Egyptians is this lighthouse thing. Provides gigantic line of sight but cannot attack for 300 gold. This building just looks really cool. It looks like something you would see out of the campaign. It has much more hit points. It's got 1,400 hit points than the obelisk, so it's going to have more line of sight. And I imagine that this would benefit from the relics too, that also increase building line of sight. Even in the watchtower here, you can get the signal fires that adds line of sight for all buildings. They also have this upgrade here in the temple, where you can see all enemy units. The cost is per enemy unit. That might be 100 gold per unit, I think it is. So if you're playing in teams, this is outrageously expensive, and you just saw this lighthouse just finished. Look how much line of sight I have. It's unbelievable. I think I actually see the entire map. Not even kidding. So I always like building those. I think the cost of that to the benefit it gives you is insane. I think it's only, what, 300 gold? Yeah, I mean, there's no reason to not do that. There is, of course, if you need gold as time kind of continues, you can build a market and trade. That's also how you can gather some gold. But I will do what kind of a lot of people do in this game is I'll put like a stronghold, maybe right there. I might be an attack of his stronghold. Maybe not. We'll empower it. He just did the Son of Osiris. So we'll get some engagements here just momentarily. And now what I'll do is I'm actually going to put a monument here so he cannot drop a god power right here. Let's go ahead and attack. I'll show you the power of the Son of Osiris. It's insane. He has one too. Let's attack. Let's go over here. You can see it just fires this giant lightning bolt. It's kind of hard to see given all the battling going on here. But it is just so good. There's another pharaoh here as well. Because I think I got that upgrade. I don't know if it's given to you or you get the upgrade. I think you have to get the upgrade. And I imagine since your leader power is recharged in this game for the 350 favor, you could... I don't see why you couldn't have two Son of Osiris's going on all at the same time. We can drop the Ancestor's ability. We'll drop that right there where some mummies will come out of the ground temporarily. And then for the Sphinx, which I think I lost it. That's going to be what this is. It also increases the rate at which your monuments gain favor. You can do that. It turns the whole map into nighttime. Do that real quick. I always loved that the game had kind of like a day-night cycle given that leader power. But I think Egypt, once it really gets going, it's a really good civ. Again, a lot of your buildings are free, kind of easing up the strain on your economy. Really where the downside of that comes into is a lot, if not almost everything, requires gold in order for you to train or construct it or upgrade it. So you're going to need to be really reliant on gold. I think Egypt has a lot of really good myth units and divine units with the pharaoh and all of the priests, and the way you get favor with the monuments is really cool. The empowering is awesome. And this light tower is just awesome. Absolutely love it. So Egypt is a really fun pantheon to play as. In terms of difficulty to learn, I think if you're coming from Greeks, which is probably where I would start, this is a good one to graduate into or maybe try on top of that. I think if you're playing as the Greeks, you can pick this up pretty quickly. And I like Egypt a lot. The way you can shut down Egypt if you're playing against it, oh, he wants to quit. Well, there we go. Take away their gold piles. Make them go into trading. Do what you can to reduce any sort of goal that Egypt can have, and you're going to be in a really good spot. Well, I hope this guide was helpful to you. I didn't want to get too deep into the details on how Egypt works. Just want to go over the broad strokes of why Egypt is really cool in Age of Mythology Retold. Again, there is a guide playlist going over everything from defensive units to general use of the controller on Xbox or PC. All of that stuff is in the guide playlist for Age of Mythology Retold, so be sure to check that out. That's going to do it for me. Thank you all so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you, James.